everybody, welcome to Heart and Hand Extra. My name's David Edgar, I'm your host, and I'm joined this week by Andy McGowan. Good evening, Andy.
Hi, David.
How is snowbound Stirling this weather?
It's like being in The Thing. Remember that horror film?
Yes.
Outpost 31, that's where I stay.
And what's it like now with the snow? Hey, see what I did there?
Very good.
See what I did there?
I can take that. I don't come for something. You can say what you want about it.
No, I was actually just slagging Andy before we went on air, but I said, apparently the weather's getting worse the further east you go, which is clearly a sign from God that you should get as westerly as you could. But the snow didn't stop Rangers this week, Andy, as we proved that we are probably the deadliest force going through snow since the Empire on Hoth that time, after 6-1 at Ayr, 4-1 against St Johnstone on Tuesday night, and for an hour Rangers were pretty irresistible.
Aye, we were very good. We're cooking with gas, as they say.
Yes.
And it's very good to see, because something's clicked, and it's not just a one-off for a change, it's actually happening every week, and there's something cooking, I would say.
They look different, don't they? There's just something about the way that they are carrying themselves at the moment into matches. That the major thing for me is that they don't let a setback get to them, which they did constantly, and that they have almost this expectation that if they just keep playing their football, then it will be good enough to beat the opposition. And it's been a long time since that you've gone in as a fan, I think, into a Rangers match really confident, and then the team show you why you were confident, and it's a lovely feeling. I've missed it.
Yeah, definitely. It might be just as simple as confidence and belief, and that might sound really, really simple, but you can't just turn that on in a team. That has to build over time. There has to be something that justifies having confidence and belief, and the results have given them that individually. The likes of Windass, Tavernier, guys like that, you can see it as a definite, but as a whole. And I do think as well, the biggest difference between this and Pedro's team is there's been a definite uplift in quality.
Yes,
so
true.
The first half on Tuesday night was 3 bits of quality, basically. And we're able to get that advantage early doors sometimes.
Well, that is a huge thing for us, and you know me, I bang on all the time about if we get the first, get the second quickly, and that does knock the stuffing out of St Johnstone, which it did the other night. But the quality of the goals were, outstanding. Okay, the first one was a penalty, but the quality of the 3 goals after that were absolutely outstanding. I think that I believe it was Wes rolls the ball out, 8 passes later, Josh Windass is sticking it away in the back of the net. And look, that's not a one-off. We can point to probably 5 or 6 goals since the winter break that we've scored that have been like that. And look, we're Rangers fans, we're realistic, so we will always go, the opposition didn't play well, or the defence isn't too good, but we still need to do it, and we still need to be capable of putting together moves like that. It was the same defence as earlier this season, when we couldn't do that.
Yeah, even the penalty, David. The penalty came about for a quarterback pass for Goss after patient play, and it was right over the top of him. So the quality of play is back to reminiscent of the early days of Warburton, when you looked at the team and you seen that there was passing, fluid football. Everybody seemed to know where they were, where their colleagues would be, and they were just riffing off each other. And that's what's happening now. They're taking a touch, they're moving, they're passing. Everybody knows where each other is. There's wee passes round the corner to each other. It's really something very, very promising. But the goals were fantastic. I thought the second goal, you see, I counted 10 passes.
It could have been.
I can't count.
No, could have been. I'm willing to accept that I got that one wrong.
I could be wrong, David, but
let's split the difference. 9.
Right, 9. It was. What was good about it is it's not passing for passing's sake.
No.
What we're doing is we're passing the ball when we need to in the areas that we have to, i.e. across the back 4, but then there's some purpose. And the key difference is Goss. So we can talk about how Candias is coming to the game and Windass and everybody else. Goss has been, for me, the big difference since the transfer window, because he is the guy that's literally pulling the strings for us and making himself available for his teammates. I think I said something to you earlier in the season after a poor result, something along the lines of that we wouldn't win things with the likes of Jason Holt and Danny Wilson. And it wasn't to be disparaging to them, it was just to say, look, there had to be more quality and more skill and ability in the team. And I think Goss epitomises that. So Holt's out the team just now. Good wee player, I like him. Excellent squad player, I would trust him in any game. But when you've got Goss in the team, you've got a wee bit more range of passing, you've got more clinical passes in the final third, and you've even got a goal threat for the guy, better set pieces, everything. So it's those wee kind of tweaks that have brought the overall quality of the team up, and I think other players are responding to that.
The Goss-Docherty partnership, I spoke about on our daily show, but I'll just reiterate it here for the flagship listeners, is that look, it's been too quick to have something that's just they've developed in training. Obviously they work on it in training, I'm not saying, clearly they do, but sometimes there is a natural partnership that just builds up, and two guys just, their game complements each other, that one does things the other maybe doesn't do. And of course managers are always trying to sign players like that. You can see when managers have fit together two players who don't complement each other's styles, but in this instance these two just seem to have hit it off. And what excites me is the possibility of the longer that they do play and train together, the more that will improve, because there's something natural about the way they fit together.
Well, natural's a word, because they're both natural footballers, and we've spoken about Docherty because we kind of knew Docherty before he signed for Rangers, and there was a fairly, probably a bit of hype around the boy that could or could not be justified, right? Because he was only playing for Hamilton, and really a lot of it was built upon the game he had at Ibrox. But he is an all-round football player, and they're kind of few and far between. So what I mean by that is he can do everything, or he can do everything at a pretty good standard, just like Barry Ferguson used to do before him, guys like that. So he is playing with Goss, who is very, very similar in that he can do most things. He can put his foot in, he can pass the ball, he can go by a man, he can take set pieces, he can shoot. Docherty can do the same. So what you've got is you've got two pretty dynamic young midfielders there, and that for me has been the kind of pivotal thing for the team, because what you've got there is it's allowing Windass to go and do his thing, because I've made my peace with Windass, right? He's not a midfielder, and I've got to say that if I was wanting to give Carlos Pena the benefit of the doubt in this kind of striker come midfielder role, then I've got to do the same for Windass, because he's excelling at it. But what we've got to remember is he's not a midfielder in that formation, unfortunately. He's a second striker that ghosts in. So you need two really good young, not necessarily young, but two energetic and dynamic midfielders, and we've got that just now.
I think dynamism's the key word. There's just so much more fluidity and directness about the way Rangers play, as you mentioned earlier. There's not the passing for passing's sake, but nor is there the constant lumping of the long ball. And the Goss ball the other night is a great example of that. That's a pass. I mean, it's a long pass, but there's nothing wrong with a good long pass.
It's the tempo the game was getting played at. It was getting passed from side to side, and then bang, you've got a fantastic ball over the top, and you've got Morelos exploding onto it. That's good football. I think in BT Sport described it as a long ball. It was not a long ball. It was a great pass.
Aye, it was, and Morelos is clearly looking for it. He's alive to it. He's on the shoulder of the guy, ready to go, and of course he goes in and wins the penalty. I did like the St Johnstone keeper saying afterwards, it wasn't a penalty because the ball touched me on the way past. That doesn't matter, mate. The guy beat you to it, right? And if he flicked it into you just before you cement him, it's still a penalty. I had to laugh at that, especially given our old friend Mr McLean and his refereeing standards, which we will come to in a wee minute. But Goss, some talk from Ian Holloway, because earlier in the week Graham Murray had said that Sean Goss is a permanent signing target, and Ian Holloway, the QPR manager, said he was quite upset by this, that he shouldn't be that he, being Graham Murray, shouldn't be talking about his player, that he's a QPR player, he shouldn't be discussed by anyone, which might make post-match interviews when he scored quite difficult for Graham Murphy. If he's got to say to the guy, don't ask me about the free kick, you need to phone Ian Holloway. But he was saying he's not for sale. Now, he's done this before, a tad hypocritical, by the way, because when Charlie Adam was on loan from Rangers to Blackpool, he said, I'd like to keep him. So, there does seem to be a little bit of hypocrisy there. Murty said things like this are usually fluid. That was the phrase he used, that transfer deals like this are usually fluid. And of course there are so many things that can change. QPR could go down, they're still not safe. Holloway could be sacked and a manager could come in who doesn't fancy Sean Goss, and the player himself could say I would rather stay at Rangers. So I don't think, Andy, that Graham Murty makes that statement if it's that dead and buried that he's going back.
No, I think first of all, I think Holloway's probably taken them out of context. I don't know if somebody's said it to him in his ear or if he's actually heard the interview. It's probably the former than the latter.
I think so.
Because he's kind of went off at the deep end a wee bit for something I thought was fairly innocuous. And as you say, there's things at play there. Holloway might not be there. Even if he is there, it might not be his decision. Because
I highly would doubt it would be.
A director of football like we have in Les Ferdinand, so if it runs to form, then they'll have a bigger sway in who stays and goes than the actual first team coach. And it might come down to cold hard cash. They bought the guy for, I think it was something like $500,000 from Manchester United, and he's hardly kicked a ball for them for whatever reason. He's hardly kicked a ball in senior football, to be honest. But if you were to go back down there with a reasonable bid and they get a reasonable uplift in what they actually paid for the guy, then they'll think about it. It's business at the end of the day. It's not any mystery. And I think that's what Murty was kind of alluding to, that anything can happen in football and no contract is so set in stone that a player will never ever move.
No.
So I think we have to, if he continues the form he's had just now, he's becoming so integral to the way the team plays, it would be a sore one to lose him. And while no player is irreplaceable, you'd have to look pretty hard to find a player of his qualities at a budget we would be able to afford and wages we'd be able to afford. But I'd like to think that he's enjoying his time at Rangers and there's a couple of more good moments to come, and that might just tell him that if he's got a choice in the matter, that his future lies with us.
Now, I thought he was just picked for man of the match the other night by an absolutely outstanding display from Alfredo Morelos. Everything I like in a striker. He was hard working, he was physical, he bullied the two defenders fairly, but both defenders, they couldn't handle him at all. He of course scored got a wonderful finish, and his all-round game was excellent, won the penalty as well. Chinese transfer window is closed. Can we put this to bed for a couple of months at least? Yeah,
I'm thinking that given his demeanour and the way he's been playing and his wee win match where he had his head turned, I'm hoping somebody's actually sat him down and said, look, this is a trajectory your career wants to take, and going to China is the part of that. Because I think it would pretty, not suicidal, you can't say 30 grand a week and a big move to China at £10 million suicidal, but from a football point of view, it's not exactly the place to highlight your skills to the rest of the world, is it?
No.
So if he does want to move to England, then there's no doubt about it. He's got to stay with Rangers. He's got to just keep doing what he's doing, and he'll get his move. We'll get our money. There's nothing sure. The only thing that will stop that is a severe dip in form, or, heaven forbid, injury. And the wee guy's attitude is such that if he does have a dip in form, I don't think it'll be for long, because he's just too dogged to let things get on top of him. A bad period of form or a period where he's not scoring goals. He's just relentless is the word I would use. That's what he's like on the park. He must be a nightmare to play against. So as you say, Davey, he's playing a game now where it's not just about his goals. His hold-up play is excellent. He's physical in the right way against centre-halves, and he's contributing to the way the whole team plays, and he's contributing to how Windass gets his runs as well. So I hope he stays for longer than the end of this season. I really do. I don't think there's a Rangers fan will say otherwise. But if we get a season and a half out of him or whatever, and we get a fair wage and we can replace him with somebody just as exciting or as promising, then that is the way we have to operate. That's the way we've been talking about for God knows how long, about whatever way you want to call it, Ajax model or whatever. Buying, getting something out of them, getting a profit, moving them on, replacing them.
Absolutely, and that's another thing about this team, that there's several players now that you look at and think, other teams would come in for you. And while on the one hand, it means that you get this worry, it's a good thing because it means they're good players. If you've got a team full of guys that nobody are going to look at, then there's a reason for that. And I think in our team that there's several at the moment that are flying. One in particular I want to talk about in a slightly different context. First of all, praise his performance again. I thought Jamie Murphy was excellent yet again, but suffered an injury after being clogged by a St Johnstone player. One of a number of tackles that went unpunished from St Johnstone players the other night. I felt Andy, the referee, after 2-0, refereed the game in a sympathetic view to St Johnstone, by which I mean that, I don't mean he gave them everything, he didn't, but I mean that certain decisions he may well have taken had the game been tighter, he didn't. And it was almost a bit of a sympathy vote in the second half. And obviously the main one of that is the baffling decision to book the St Johnstone striker for kicking out at David Bates, which is not a decision you can reach. You can either pretend you haven't seen it and not do anything, or you have to send him off. But if you've seen a kick, he has to go. So much so that the St Johnstone official Twitter feed said he was lucky not to go for blootering David Bates, which I thought was a nice turn of phrase. But this is a concern. This is now the 5th time this season that a Rangers player has had to leave the field due to injury. Sustained in a match. Now, injuries happen, I absolutely get that. But 5 times due to illegal challenges, and not once in those 5 occasions has it been anything more than a talking to. So you're getting to a stage where this is not just, we won 4-1, this is not just us complaining for the sake of complaining, this is not just me having a moan about it. This is endangering players' safety. That's a fact.
Yeah. So, as you say, David, this isn't just football supporters moaning about referees, as football supporters do. If we take a step back and we look at games over the piece, so you've got a big body of evidence there for what we watch Rangers, right? It's the only country left that I see football being played in where you still get a free boot at somebody, and if it's in the first 10 minutes you get a stern look and a wee wagged finger and you get told don't do that again, whereas anywhere else you get booked. If it's a booking, it's a booking, whether it's the first minute or last minute. The tackles you're referring to, so we've had Murphy, we've had Dons, we've had Ryan Jack, serious, well, I don't know about Murphy yet, but Dons and Jack certainly serious injuries, and in my opinion those happened in games where the referee lets things go, he sets the tone, opposition players say, well, this is how far we can push it with this guy tonight, and then eventually somebody gets injured and they're out for a period of time. We don't play a particularly physical game, I think Rangers can mix it if they want, but we're not a physical team, we're a footballing team, I don't think there's any doubt about it. And if we're going to talk about deeper things, and we touched upon this after the Motherwell semi-final, if we're going to look at deeper things like the future of Scottish football, the way we play football as a nation, and the way our league is portrayed, then the refereeing plays a huge part in it, because we still reward physicality. There's no question about it. If you've got a team and they're physical, referees will say, well, let's see what you play, it's a man's game, and at 9 times out of 10 you'll get away with it so far until to the point where you can actually pull yourself back, and by that time you've maybe got your rewards as you're still in the game or whatever. So I hate to bring Mr. Lennon into it, but Lennon's point was right about refereeing standards. Where he was wrong was that he's going on about it as if he's the only manager that's ever suffered under a referee.
Aye.
But he's got a point, and I think, how do you approach it? I don't want Murty going out and slagging every referee, right? I don't particularly want Rangers going in the Celtic route or putting public pressure on referees either. But what I do want them doing is the back channels. Speak to, I can't remember who the referee supervisor is now, talk to them on a consistent basis, point out things to them that they feel are unfair or that are causing, as you say, risk to our players and our assets, and make sure that it's brought up time and again. Because this is intrinsic. This is something I strongly believe is integral to the way Scottish football goes forward. You can't get any bigger than that.
I'm the same as you, I don't really like the idea of a manager having to come out and, make political points, because that's what it is when a Rodgers or whatever does it. But it's to put pressure on them for an individual match, which I get has crept into modern football, but I don't like it. So I'm just being upfront about that. But if the SFA aren't prepared to allow an adult debate about the standard of refereeing, which is not good enough, it just clearly isn't. You're not being unfair to suggest that. This is not Rangers only. This is a universally agreed thing among fans of Scottish football clubs who can't agree on anything else. And unless you are prepared to have a frank discussion about it, and B, growing up and admit that there are things that the referees are doing wrong and seek to address it. The SFA get very defensive, and I understand, because referees do put up with a lot of shit. Absolutely they do. They have trouble getting people to come into the game. But a concern of mine is, because of that, a siege mentality develops, and referees don't get critiqued at the level I think they need to develop into top referees in a way that in England, for example, they do, because down there they are professionals, so therefore they are judged, if you like, as professionals. Whereas up here, because they are essentially, part-timers, volunteers, for want of a better word, although they do receive a decent match fee, it should be pointed out. But the SFA don't allow any criticism or discussion and reject any criticism of their officials, whereas quite clearly we have an issue with refereeing in this country, to the point that, yes, you're right, it's an unusual position to be in. That I agree with Neil Lennon. Now, a lot of that's to do with the fact that a lot of the stuff I've talked about is to do with the fact that there was a big referees strike caused primarily by Neil Lennon, but the fact is he's right when he talks about the standards of refereeing. But again, where the hypocrisy comes in there is that he didn't do it after the beaten game at Ibrox, and if managers are going to be selfish and only do it when it hurts their team, then that, if nothing else, it damages their credibility, because the SFA then have their ready-made excuse to say, well, you never said it, you only say it when it goes against you. It's just, in this case, your green-tinted goggles, and in our case, our blue-tinted ones. But you're right, we reward physicality, or we don't punish it in a way that other countries do. You do get the first 10 minutes. You get the first 10 minutes to absolutely crunch somebody, and crunch them to a standard where you're putting them out of the game for months. And that just does not encourage good football. That ball players will not come here if they know that, Graham Murty alluded to the fact that Jamie Murphy's the type of guy who likes to hold on to the ball and make things happen. Well, if Jamie Murphy thinks every time I do this I'm going to get kicked and possibly risk being out, he's going to either fundamentally alter his game in a negative way, or he's going to face months on the treatment table. And players like him in future are just going to go, nah, I'm not putting up with that.
Yep. So you ask yourself, David, how many teams in the SPFL would you call a footballing team? Hamilton, maybe? Celtic, ourselves? No Aberdeen, no Hearts.
No, definitely no Hearts. Hibs can be.
Hibs, maybe, yep.
Hibs can be. Kelly, I would say.
Kelly,
that's it.
Well, they mixed that quite a bit when we were doing there, but there's no a team you'd say, do you know what, they play good football, like you would used to say about, I don't know, Tony Mowbray's Hibs, right? They're shite, but they used to play
they played good stuff. They did. They were inconsistent, but they played good stuff.
Aye, but their intentions were footballing. If we go back to, I don't remember what World Cup or what season it was, but there seemed to be a sea change just in a snap of a finger one close season where tackles were viewed differently. We're getting booked and sent off. Do you remember that? I
94.
I imagine this.
No, 94 World Cup.
94 World Cup, right.
Guys were getting sent off for very little.
Aye. And everybody was saying what's happening here, but that's kind of the norm now. People know, particularly in England, what's a send off, it's a red card, and there's no surprise when it happens. Do you think that's passed us by?
I do. I think that up here the referees still... I just think factually you can't watch a Scottish game and not think that, because in the opening 10 minutes, if in that period a bad tackle goes in that at any other point in the match will lead to a yellow card, sometimes more, then it needs to be a really vicious assault, and even then it'll get a booking in that first 10 minutes. There seems to be this golden period where guys are allowed to make tackles that normally they would be brought up for. There's also the fact that sometimes referees up here, I think, fear giving out a lot of cards, because they, this ties into their reputation a little bit, and they therefore try to, maybe it's a mental thing that they're going, nah, I want to get to 20 minutes without the first booking, because otherwise I'll have 4 or 5. But there's no way you can watch Scottish football, and I'm not just talking about Rangers, but watch any Scottish football match, and that a skillful attacker, a Jordan Jones at Killie, for example, will get crunched early on by one of the opposition players, with the idea being that I know I can do this now, whereas if I do it later, 1, he'll have half an hour to go against me, and 2, I'll get booked. So yeah, I mean, it happens all the time.
And that's understandable. For a referee's point of view, the way you're describing that there, David, I can get that. A referee might be thinking, I need to keep the lid on this so that I finish the game with 20, 21 players, right? But they've made that rod for their own back because the players know that they can go out and try that. If you brought in a fairly more strict kind of view of tackles of that nature, Hamilton, Motherwell would be in the shit straight away, because that is their game. Physicality from minute 1 to minute 90, they'll push it as far as they can. And again, this goes back to, what do we want for Scottish football? What kind of football do we want to be promoting in our leagues, our senior leagues? You mentioned adult conversation about this. Now, how do we tackle it? Do we allow the referees to come out and say, right, this is what actually was going through my mind at that time, and I still feel I'm right, or I've made a mistake? That would be great. However, if you do that, you've got to have a culture and an environment where if a referee was to come out and say, do you know what, I made a mistake there, that he wouldn't get absolutely vilified, or you wouldn't get fucking arses like Lennon coming out and saying, you're costing me points, you're costing me European places, you might cost me my job. You've got to have managers which, to be fair to Murty, he's got a level-headed, at least in public, kind of approach to it, where he'll say, right, well, we're all human, whatever. It allows the kind of debate to breathe. Whereas if you have a debate and immediately it's jumped on by desperate managers who fucking want to win at all costs, then it'll never work. It'll actually just drive referees through the game. So it's getting a balance, it's just like everything else. It's like getting a balance between encouraging players to play football, encouraging the right kind of football, encouraging referees to come into the game, because without referees we've not got a game. This is the thing that we often forget when we vilify these guys, that I wouldn't be a referee for a pension.
No.
So we've got to actually make sure that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater here, and we don't just go to extremes with them. And if you see me on a Saturday, then that's not what I'm doing. I'm gassing up these guys, right? But in my quieter moments, you say to yourself, well, we've got to actually make this work like anything else. So the culture needs to change. I think there needs to be leadership from the supervisors, SFA, and there needs to be then communication to the players and the clubs and saying, look, this is the way it's going to be from now on. You're going to see bookings for this. You're going to see sending offs for that. It's not going to be acceptable anymore. You've been fed the information. You need to act on it. You've been told.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think there's got to be a watershed moment at some point, David.
Yeah, because as I say, we're seeing guys that we want to see play football being, I mean, it's the old cliche, but it's true. It's never the hackers that end up being out for 9 months. You know, the guys that just blotter the ball forward all the time. It's the skillful players. It's the guys you pay your money to watch, and they're not being allowed to deliver that. And of course, you know, you just need to look at the results of the kind of football culture we have in Scotland and the effect of the players that we've brought through, to the point where Greg Docherty's a rarity. Generally speaking, when Rangers sign a Scottish player, it's because they've been somewhere else and learned, you know, or flourished somewhere else. It's not been because of our league. Now, obviously, Graham Murty is in charge until the end of the season. We know this. He's doing quite well, and the team has improved. There's just no arguing about that. They're a better side now than they were before the window. That's a fact. A lot of that is to do with Mark Allen's signings, and I think he deserves a hell of a lot of credit for that. He's been allowed to get on with the job now, and I think we've already started to reap the rewards of that. But you can't downgrade the fact that Murty is still the man who's, you know, picking the team and getting the results. So credit does need to be given to him as well. He's in for the job permanently. I've always felt, I'll review it at the end of the season, but I'll be honest and say that in my heart of hearts, I was always, we need better. The other night, last couple of days, it got me thinking, Andy, that, well, if we can get better, obviously we should, but if we are looking at McInnes level managers, I'm not entirely sure that this guy isn't as good and potentially better. In much the same way as a Greg Docherty you sign and you're excited about his ability moving forward and as he develops, maybe we're kind of at the stage where we can't get that type of manager unless, almost like players, they're either on the upswing or the downswing, and that if we have an opportunity here to grow our own and in fact have gone through the worst of that period, the growing pains period, maybe it would be beneficial to us to just go, okay, 1 year deal or 18 months or whatever, rolling contract, let's see how you do. Or is that possibly me being a little bit naive and giddy with the last few weeks?
Well, obviously, we've had a lot of chat between the podders about this, and there's been various viewpoints on it. I think the context we've got to remember is that Murty is on the longest job interview in history, and it's the hardest job interview in history because he's been judged on results for Rangers, and that's a pressure cooker at the best of times. The expectations there, everything else. We all know that, we're Rangers supporters. I think that what he's done with this squad, and in conjunction with Mark Allen, because let's not forget that that's a partnership that's got to be working between manager and director of football. That's integral to what happens on our football pitch. I think he's done exceptionally well, and it's not just about the results in the park. Let's look at the way we're playing. We're an exciting football team to watch. It's good to go and watch Rangers just now because when we click, it's fucking brilliant. We've got attacking players, we play with pace, we've got energy, we've got a good team harmony, it appears, and everything is going in the right direction. But to do that under the kind of circumstances that he's been placed in is not easy, and he's done it. So I was with you, Davey, a couple of weeks ago. If you'd asked me, and I said, right, well, let's wait and see. But I think what's happened is the results today and those things I've just mentioned are undeniable. And I think if we'd brought in an inverted commas more experienced manager or a name, I don't know if that had been achieved. It's not something that just happens. There's got to be something in Murty's makeup that has allowed him to make this happen. Whether it's his manner on the manner in the dressing room, manner on the training ground, I don't know. But he's done something that's, Coutinho couldn't do it.
No.
Warburton could do it to a point. So I think it's there for him to lose. I also think that even if we get beat against Celtic, I don't think that'll have much bearing on the outcome. I think there would need to be a cataclysmic drop in form, or a ridiculously bad exit for the Scottish Cup, a surprise exit for Murty to not get this job. And I've said a couple of times in the pod, so I've said things like we need to persevere at some point. We need to persevere the director of football. I've said that before. I think we're now at the point where you've got something and it looks good, it looks as if it's working and it feels right. Let's persevere with it. And if you then say to me, right, well, we could get better, well, probably could, but who? And what guarantee is there?
Well, there's none with anyone, and that's, I think, the issue, that we could get in the perfect manager. We could also get a Pedro Mark II, unfortunately, or we could get someone whose track record does look good but doesn't work out for whatever reason. And you look at McInnes and you think, God, we could have been lumbered with him for 3 years, and we wouldn't be watching football like that. No, seriously, and we wouldn't be watching football like this, and we would all have kind of taken it because he was established. Well, maybe, and a wee bit like bringing through a youngster, maybe you're better off bringing through a coach, because we've done, as I say, the hard yards with that. He's gone through the probationary period, if you like, and he seems to be actually growing into it as opposed to fading under the spotlight. So I don't know. As I say, I think the next 2 weeks will probably go a long way to deciding. Well, you might be right in saying that if he loses that match, it probably wouldn't count against him. If he was to win that match, I think it would severely help his chances of getting that. And, and rightly so. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the games that we've lost, or any of the kind of poorer results we've had under them, so Dundee away was a bit of an aberration. You had Hamilton at home, but every game, or almost every game bar Hibs that he's had since he's been given the tools that Mark Allen's given him, so post-transfer window, there's no arguing with it. They've been always unblemished, apart from the Hibs game, which, as I say, was it was one of the games that you could have lost any other day. So if you want my opinion, I think we should give him it. I think we should persevere. I think we've got something going. The players are responding. There seems to be a plan in place, and I keep reiterating the dynamic between him and Mark Allen seems to be something that works. And
definitely,
I think that is a major thing in who we would have as our next manager. Because if you bring in a manager which is kind of saying, well, director of football, I'll deal with it, rather than a manager comes in and absolutely embraces it and understands intrinsically how that works in a football club, then there's a big difference. And I think that's what McInnes's problem is.
Yeah,
he wanted it talking about,
I think so.
And he wasn't going to get it.
You're right. Whereas somebody that knows the working conditions and responds positively to it, who's already there, is somebody that you definitely need to consider. Now, I'm also a great believer in that when things change for the better or for the worse, you look at what has changed. And one of the things that did change, of course, was Rangers brought in Jimmy Nicholl. So we bit of credit to him as well here, because I think it would be unfair to suggest that he hasn't had any influence at all. I think that he's came in and you have seen the confidence levels of the player rise, and I wonder if that is to do with Jimmy Nicholl and the type of coach that Jimmy Nicholl is, because he's coaching he's the assistant manager, but he works with the players a lot. And obviously if you're the assistant manager at any club, you have that relationship with the players that is possibly even stronger than with the manager, because you spend more time with them, and maybe throw a wee bit of love Jimmy's way.
Yeah, definitely. But we've got a young team, and as you see in a training ground, you've got a young team. Sometimes it's the word in the ear that makes all the difference. And I think under Pedro, you had Helder Baptista, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Helder Baptista. He was a kind of link between the manager and the players, and he seemed an affable guy and all the rest of it. But I think Jimmy Nicholl's an upgrade on that, because he's been there and he's done it. He knows the club, and I don't think, I think it'd be remiss to say that the changes we've seen since the transfer window, that he's not had a fairly big hand in that as well. Takes the pressure off Murray as well, because he's allowed to then go and do the things that a manager's supposed to do. And again, I would also throw it out to Johansson as well.
Yeah, definitely.
He seems to be fairly influential in the dugout on a Saturday. So it's all about chemistry, isn't it? And that's why, again, we're getting back to who do we want as the next manager. You can't create lightning in a bottle. As I say, you've got heart and hand. You can't just go out and recreate it.
No.
You've got to actually, sometimes you get that wee bit of luck where things just come together. You get the right people in the right place and the right dynamics, and that's how it feels just now, Davey. And you don't want to jinx it, because we're always, as you know, 1 or 2 games away from a crisis at Rangers. But since Christmas, the signs have been so positive that you can't just dismiss it and say, well, any manager could do that. Any manager can do it, as we found out.
Well, absolutely. That's, I think, one of the greatest myths that you can have in football, that anyone can do it. And Manchester City are a good example of that. They've had managers who had untold millions to spend, but they didn't play like this. So you're right. It's a false idea.
One thing I would add is that for long and weary, since we've had our trials and tribulations, it's always been about, for me, a desire to see the whole club and the whole support pulling in the one direction. And what you've finally got now is as time goes by, the stability off the park becomes more and more apparent, and all the naysayers and all the shite that gets written just gets washed off, right? And I think things like Morelos' bid getting punted out the window, that's a huge signal that this club is getting run the right way now, that the club is putting football first, because we're now in a position where we can put football decisions first, and then that translates down onto the management, the director of football, and then eventually, if all goes well, that's supposed to translate on a part. I think we're seeing that now. I think the club is finally in a pretty good place where we can look forward and say, right, well, barring major disasters, I think we've got an upward trajectory. The supporters feel it. You just need to go to an away game. The supporters know that if we keep going, we'll get our rewards. Might not be this season, might not be next season, but we'll get our rewards, because the club's no for going backwards now.
Now, Andy, you are my go-to guy on matters financial when it comes to Rangers off the field stuff. The latest this week was Dave King lost his appeal in the High Court in Edinburgh with regards to having to make a statutory bid for the rest of the shares of the company, because if you go through 30% of a company, or ownership, 30% of a company, or rather control, I believe is the phrase, of 30% of a company, you are legally obliged to then bid for the rest of the shares at the price when you took control. And Dave King has been ordered by the takeover panel to do so. He has fought that, saying that he's not in control of 30% of the club. They've said that he acted in concert with the Three Bears to get himself over that mark. Now, his appeal this week was, the bid is highly unlikely to be accepted because the price of the shares then was 20 pence. They're now trading around 28 pence, I believe, and likely to go up. So nobody's going to sell at those prices. But he's obliged to make the offer, and I believe that the total cost of the portfolio and everything, the sales portfolio is around about £500,000, which is why he's trying to avoid doing it. But this week, although he lost the appeal, one of the things that changed was that previously it was said that the bid had to come from him, and the reason that it's annoying, he can't just make this bid knowing that, for anyone listening, say, well, why don't you just make the bid and wait for it to be rejected? You have to show proof of funds, so you have to ring fence the amount it would cost if everybody did, which would be around about £11 million. Dave King had said that he didn't have that personally. That's where all the kind of skint headlines and Tim Wankfodder came from. But this week, although he lost the appeal, that the judge ruled that he was in fact acting in concert and did control 30% of the club, that the bid could come through his trust, NOAL. Andy, what's the long and the short of this?
The long and the short of it is that it doesn't have any actual material impact on us as a club, except it's a tremendous pain in the arse for our major shareholder and, for lack of a better word, our major benefactor. So it seems to me to be the last kind of kicking of balls that the Spibs could get. Right, they've pushed this forward because it's a pointless exercise, offering 20p for shares that are worth more than 20p. It'll cost King or his trust money to, as you say, to set up the kind of actual mechanism just to make the offer. It's a substantial amount of money that no matter how rich you are, you're going to say why. And I think that's why he's took it to appeal, and but I believe he might even be able to take it to a further appeal. I'm not sure.
He can take it to the basically the Supreme Court. He's got another
Supreme Court, right? So I don't think there's any major impact on us, because if I don't think it's going to cost them that much, as much money as it potentially could. So that £11 million figure that he's got to produce as proof of funds, if you like, I don't think it'll ever come anywhere near that. Even if some people do accept the offer that he's been given. The thing about King is it's about King and the person, the individual, and it's about him and his trust, New Oasis Assets Limited or something, NOAL. The trust is the legal entity which holds the shares, his shares, if you like, in Rangers. So I think, now I'll be glad to be correct in this because I've not read into it too much, but I think the big difference between the ruling this week and what we thought previously was that the trust can make the offer as opposed to King as an individual. Now, you mentioned the skint headlines and the rest of it. High net worth clients like Dave King generally do not have millions of cash lying about.
Yes.
Right? It's usually working in some capacity for them. So it'll be a wee bit of wrangling for him to make sure that this trust can do what's required as per the judgment. But in the long and short of it, David, I don't think it's going to have a tremendous impact on us as a club. It's a thing that Dave King's going to deal with, and it might cost him a few bob in the short term, but it's not a fatal blow or anything that would cause me undue concern. He got into this, and to be honest, he's come into this whole thing with Rangers, and it's been the biggest game of poker Hendry could enter, and he's played it pretty well, right? Because if you go back to the boycott days, and I'll not ramble on for too long, but if you go back to the boycott days, I wasn't particularly in favour of the boycott because I thought King was playing a huge game of poker with our club that if he didn't get the shares at the right time or in time, we were gone, really gone. So he's get balls. I'll tell you that. Whether you like Dave King or no, he's got balls because he took it to the wire, and ever since then, between his dealing with Ashley and this and everything else he's had to contend with, lesser men would walk away or say, Ken, what? Fuck this. He's went through it all and he's dealt with it. And I think this is just another domino that's going to fall out the way, and eventually we come out the other end, him as an individual and us as a club.
Now, our next match is scheduled for Sunday against Falkirk at home in the Cup. And I'll be honest, Andy, I'm not entirely sure I see it going ahead given the weather conditions in Scotland at the moment and the mood of the police to big events at the moment. The weather forecast for the next few days, although it's not as bad in the west as it is in the east, it's not great. And certainly being over here in the west, although it's nowhere near as snowy today, it's still freezing, so there's no chance of the snow that has fallen thawing. So I'll be honest, I mean we'll talk about the game, but I don't know if I see the permission being given. It's not a pitch issue or anything, it's just I don't think the police will want people travelling, and there's also the fact that we don't know what public transport's going to be like on Sunday either.
No. And to be honest, my Tesco's have just descended for fucking Tuesday, so get back out on Sunday just to talk about week clear, to be honest. So so what I would say is that I hope it goes ahead, because I'd like to get a game in before the Celtic game, apart from anything else. And if we do play, I've read or heard folk talking about resting players, this and that. I don't want to rest anybody. I want to win the Scottish Cup.
Yeah.
I don't want any chances taken whatsoever.
I don't think we're good enough at the moment to leave out 7 or 8. Yeah, you can bring Cummings in, you can bring Alves in. I've no problem with either of those. Yep. But the idea of dropping 6 or 7 players and bringing in, your whole Halliday, those type of guys, and to give them a game, this is too important for us to give them a game. And yet Falkirk have had a poor season, we all know that, and it's at Ibrox. But the fact is that Falkirk have got absolutely nothing to lose here, and Ibrox being the way it is, if Falkirk were to get a goal ahead, it's an unnecessary risk for me, Andy. I think you play, okay, maybe not your strongest team, but a bloody strong one. And even in the case of having Cummings play, Morelos is on the bench kind of thing, you don't take unnecessary risks in this fixture.
No. I think we are in a better position where before I have a genuine rotation when you're replacing somebody with somebody else that's of a similar quality. So Cummings is the example, Alves is the example, Wallace if he's fit, for example. So we can do that, but I don't think Murray's going to change. As much as we're purring about the team and how they're playing, I don't think it's going to change anything. It's going to, as you say, even hold the door ajar for Falkirk to do something. They've had a shit season, but what they have done is they've consolidated a wee bit since Hartley came in. So cup games, anything can happen. We've got to take care of business. So I hope it goes ahead, because as I say, it was a good boost to get the game out of the way before we go in. And I don't particularly want whether it's 10-day hiatus until we play Celtic.
Although I would say that by that same token, I think Celtic may be in the same position, because like I say, at this point I'm not sure I see any games in Scotland going ahead this week.
I can't see any games getting played, to be honest, but I Celtic in the same position, but I don't know. I don't think it'll happen, but I would love to see it happen. But there we go. I'm not an expert in football, I'm certainly not an expert in weather.
I can assure people that we know that it is fucking snowy at this point, and that's about it. But yeah, at the moment it doesn't look too good. Speaking of which, it's with a very heavy heart I've got to announce that we've had to postpone our live show in Dunfermline this Saturday night, which was scheduled with us and Kevin Thompson. After talks with the venue, there's just no way. It's in Dunfermline, they've been hit really badly, and their feeling is that our people who would be coming out to see it may not be able to, and there's no point people taking a risk. So it was with a very heavy heart we had to do it. We're all absolutely gutted. Your tickets are still valid, and we are rearranging another date as soon as we can. It will be either in April or at the very start of May. So please keep a hold of your tickets. If you want a refund, then all you need to do is get in touch with me. It's at DA230315 at gmail.com. That's DA 230315@gmail.com. I would hope you wouldn't, because we will be coming, we will be doing the show, and at least maybe hold on and see till we announce the rearranged date, which we will do hopefully over the next 2 or 3 days. But we're gutted, but we kind of take the risk of people coming out and getting stuck, for one thing, or maybe the complete waste of money it would be for people if we go ahead and do the show for selfish reasons, but then people can't make it. That wouldn't be fair. So we do apologise. There will be a show. Kev's committed to it. There's no problems there. It's just, as I say, one of these things. It's all hard. So Andy, if we are to see a game this weekend, if it does go ahead, what's your prediction?
I would say clean sheet and a few goals, so I'll go for 3-0.
I'm going to say if it goes ahead, I think Rangers will win 4-0, especially if it's snowing, because we're so good in the snow. So we've had a lot of practice recently. I'll go 4-0. Folks, if you like listening to us here on Heart and Hand, we're here Mondays and Thursdays with our free shows, but you can also get hours and hours of extra content over on our Patreon subscription site. That's patreon.com/Heart and Hand. When we started, we were hoping to do an extra 20 to 25 hours per month. We're doing round about 45 to 50 hours per month. There's so much content, you can just pick and choose. But especially if we're facing a weekend with no football, this is a great time to try it out. If you're stuck in the house, you'll find loads, and I'm sure you'll like it. So go and give us a wee try. But even if you don't fancy that and you just like us twice a week, we will be back here on Monday. Might not have a lot to talk about, but we'll be back here on Monday regardless. I'd like to thank my executive producers in London, Mr. Mike Lee and Mr. Paul Miles, and to thank my guest tonight, the ever wonderful Mr. Andy McGowan.
Pleasure as always, David. Thanks.
Thank you very much for listening, folks, and we'll be back on Monday. Cheers. Bye.